and welcome everybody. It's the new year and we've got a new format and we're really excited to be here today. Now, many of you have watched The View from the Top and it's great to have so many of you with us today. And also you've watched Benivo Bites. And Benivo Bites in the past we've done on a Thursday and we did the View from the Top on a Wednesday. What we've done this year is we're going to consolidate them and we're going to have 1 week is going to be The View from the Top, which is our strategy day. That's the day, that's the show where we talk about mobility strategy, everything that's new, people's perspectives on global mobility. And then the next time we have Benivo Bites, and Benivo Bites is our technology show. So we've got this lovely situation where we've got the strategy show and then we've got the technology show. So it's really exciting having those two shows. But we do have a bit of continuity between the two. Aside from me, each week we're also going to have immigration updates. So we're delighted that Julia Onslow-Cole is with us both on The View from the Top and on Benivo Bites. So if you fancy mobility strategy, it's one Wednesday. If you fancy mobility technology and all the latest updates, it's the alternate Wednesday. And of course, we hope that all of you want to come to all of the shows. We appreciate that it's a big day out there today. It's so exciting, everything that's going on in the US. But that is huge news, but not nearly as huge as the news that we've got. Because we're going to be talking about, forget Trump sum, we're talking lump sum. So we're talking about lump sum today. Very exciting stuff. Great technology that we're going to be showing. You know how it works. Please do join the conversation. Write in the in the box. We want to know, who's out there. Tell us what's going on. We're very interested to know everything that is out there. The subject for today is reinventing lump sum. And we're going to talk about how big data can enhance the assignee experience. Now, we know that lump sum is controversial. We're not going to get into that controversy. We're not going to be discussing whether lump sum is a good thing or a bad thing, because we as an organization are lump sum neutral. Okay, we're completely lump sum neutral. If you as a company want to put in lump sum, we've got the technology to support you. If you don't want to put in lump sum, we've got other technology that supports you in, if you like, more traditional programs. But that's what we're going to be getting into today, and we've got some great stuff to share with you. What have we got coming up? Well, next week, The View from the Top is back, and I'm delighted to say our guest next week is Ray Kirby. Ray Kirby is the global mobility lead at Twitter. And Twitter, obviously everybody knows Twitter, and Twitter is one of the first companies to have gone with a work from anywhere policy. And we're going to be talking about Ray's backstory. We're going to be talking about work from anywhere. And we're going to be talking about diversity and inclusion and pretty much whatever else takes our fancy. But we've got lots of great stuff on the show next week with Ray Kirby. And then the week after that, which is the 3rd of February, Benivo Bites is back, and we're going to be focusing in on Indian domestic moves. I'm seeing we've got people coming from all over the world are coming in, which is so great to have you all today. And we're going to be getting into talking about the technology in a moment. What I do want to actually, let me just say hello to a few people. Let's say who we've got out there. We've got Liz is in Dorset. We've got from India, from Armenia, from just outside DC. Okay, well you're certainly in the thick of it at the moment, Sandra. From the UK, from Pittsburgh, from the Netherlands, from Dallas. I mean, we've got, as I said, people from all over the world. It's so great to have you all here today. But what I do want to do is I appreciate that, on The View from the Top, we talk about everything that's going on, but we haven't really talked a little bit about what Benivo does. And I just wanted to in a way put things in context and just tell you a minute or so just about what Benivo is for those of you who don't know Benivo. As a company, what we're trying to do is create an Amazon-style user experience and marry that with both fintech and an end-to-end mobility management system. So we are a tech company, but we're a tech company that is very much focused on what we call an Amazon-style experience. And you'll see that as we go through, as later on, as we talk through some of the technology we develop. And what does Amazon style mean? Well, you think about it. If you buy something on Amazon, and we all do, one of the first things you do is you read the reviews, you read the user experience. We're trying to bring reviews and user experience into mobility so that employees moving from country to country can learn from other employees about how to handle their move. And nowhere is that more important than in lump sum. If you're being given a lump of money, you need that user experience, that employee experience, the people who've gone before you to help you. So there's some pretty interesting stuff out there. We've also got an amazing fintech solution that delivers cash pretty much instantaneously and an incredible end-to-end mobility management system. We're going to get into that in a while, but before we do, I think I would like to bring Julia on screen and just talk a little bit about immigration, because we said, we know a lot of people tune in to get Julia's amazing immigration updates. So we'll bring Julia on screen and then we'll move on to talking about lump sum after that. Julia,
thank you. Thanks.
And where are you, Julia?
Yes, so I'm actually in Dubai for a few weeks. I'm actually working on a project here. So yes, it's very nice. It's very nice.
It must be nice to be out of sort of lockdown Britain, and you're able to get out and go do normal, go to restaurants and things, aren't you, out there?
Exactly. Yes. It's yes. I rang my kids at home and they're a bit fed up. They're saying, "Why are you in the sunshine, mummy?" And unfortunately, at the moment, it's very difficult to travel from the UK. So, but yes, it's very nice to be able to get out and about.
Okay. So Julia, I know lots of stuff is happening even as we speak.
Yes.
In the USA, but I'm guessing it's too soon to talk about what is going to happen in terms of immigration and visas from a US perspective. But you're going to come back to us next week on that.
Yes,
right?
Yes. I saw Sandra. She's here just from outside Washington. Yes, there's a lot going on, and I do have quite a lot of good information from our Fragment team in Washington about what to expect and some exciting things we might see over the next week. And definitely I'm going to be covering those in View from the Top next week. So I think it's quite surprising. I think that we all thought there was going to be a bit of a slow start on immigration, but I think it's going to be quite fast, quite exciting, and really good news. So that's lovely.
Okay. So what are we going to talk about today on your immigration update?
So what I wanted to do is just say a few words about the UK and EU, because we covered that last week from View from the Top, but I had lots of questions, and it's really troubling quite a lot of people. And so I thought it would be really nice if I could just do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the things that I said last week on View from the Top, because I know a lot of global mobility leaders are really struggling with this whole area. And I just wanted to say thank you again to the Fragment team, because they're so awesome and they always help me to prepare, and particularly to Gemma Hislop and Christine Sullivan. But here we are on the 20th of January. And so we're, a couple of weeks into the new UK system. And the thing that's really annoying for global mobility leaders and the recruiters is that it's still very opaque about advertising requirements. So when the UK government announced the new immigration system, everyone was really happy particularly because one of the positive developments was the one of the new developments for the new system was that you didn't have to do the advertising requirement for skilled workers. So everyone was really happy about that. But what's happened is that the guidance that everyone is unchanged, and it conflicts with this new principle. So Appendix D, which is the appendix which one looks to see, what documents have you got to keep, actually asks you to keep all of the documents showing how you recruited that person. So there is this sort of conflict, and we are very much working with lots of other brilliant providers are trying to get clarification. And I'm sure it's something that we can get clarification from soon, but it's obviously quite annoying for global mobility leaders when they've got so much else on their plate that they're going to have to worry about this, which is something that they shouldn't be worrying about at all. Now, another positive change in the new system is that the skills level was brought down to A level. And this is really good. And talking to clients, they're really pleased about that, because obviously free movement of workers has ended. So the pool of talent, that they can go to has been restricted. But the fact that they can now, under the new immigration system, take people who've just got A levels rather than graduate level is a real positive. And I think what I'm seeing in the market is a lot of clients are talking about hires that they're going to be doing, or assignments that and moves they're going to be making, sort of at the middle of this year, and maybe coming up to September time, and they want to sort of get those really going in the summer. But what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of instructions coming in on people who are here already as intercompany transferees, and clients want to move them to the skilled worker category. Now, previously, you couldn't move an intercompany transferee onto what was the old system, which was called Tier 2 General. And the reason that it would have been nice to move is that ICT category does not lead to settlement. So it's a great opportunity for your employees, and we're seeing lots of clients put instructions out for this, to move people into this new skilled worker category from intercompany transferee. You can do it in country, and it means then it leads to settlement. And there's been so much upheaval with COVID that this is a really nice thing to do. And I think it's really positive. It has a positive impact on your population.
Talking of COVID, actually, one question that's come in, I think I know the answer, but I'll just put it up here from David Fennell. If foreign nationals are vaccinated before departure and can prove this, would this change the mandatory quarantine period by governments that have this?
It's a brilliant question, David. So the answer is no, because all of the rules talk about quarantine, and there's nothing in any of the rules about if you've been vaccinated, and you just have to follow the rules globally. But obviously, separately, there is a huge amount of work being done on these, on the idea of a digital passport, and if you have had a vaccination. So, I mean, if you're in one of these pilot streams, so some of the companies that are developing digital passport with vaccination details, they have pilots going on certain very restricted airline routes. If you're on one of those very, very narrow pilots, then it might help. But as generally speaking, there isn't any way that, for example, if you had the vaccine in Dubai and you were able to get to the UK, obviously you can't at the moment. It's difficult. But if you go to the UK, you couldn't say, "Oh, I don't want to quarantine because I got the vaccine." But it's a brilliant question, because it's something that we'll be talking about over the next few weeks as these different projects are taking place with IATA and the World Health Organization, and we will see this. This will become something that will be sorted.
It does sound like digital passports might be the future one day. But
yes,
You carry on, Julia. You're talking about.
And then just saying about, in the UK, the EU settlement scheme is going well. So, keep reminding everyone to apply for that. And we're not really getting much take up from the frontier worker scheme. And I think that's because it's an interesting category, but it's not a route to settlement. And that is another real theme we're seeing, that people are really, wanting settled status. I'm sure this is a reaction to COVID, that we're seeing this. People, want to feel that they going to have the right to stay in a country because of the uncertainty over the last year. And just a quick reminder, the new rules in the UK, you have to fill a passenger locator form within 48 hours before you come back to the UK. And you should have this negative test within 72 hours. And, off the record, we're getting lots of reports that people aren't doing it. And some people are actually willingly paying a £500 fine rather than not take a COVID test. So, and then there's the quarantine as you come into the UK for 10 years, but there's a test and release, which you can do if you have a test on the 5th day, and you can be released on the 6th. So, but all of these rules change very, very quickly. And obviously, it's really important that you keep monitoring them all the time if you have anyone traveling.
Okay, so thank you so much, Julia.
So there's just one final point I wanted to make on the EU. And this is a really difficult subject, and I'm going to try and sort of break it down as simply as I can. But there is a huge issue for employers who have British citizens who, until Brexit happened, or until the 1st of January, until the end of the transition, were going to provide services in Europe. So these are particularly, it's pertinent for companies that say had individuals, British citizens, who were out servicing machines, or they're providing services, and they were contractually obliged to do it in quite a small time frame. Now, it used to be up until the 1st of January that you could easily do this under the EU right to provide services. So you're a UK company, you're providing services in the EU, that's all fine. But now we're not in the EU, and there's no freedom of movement for services. And you remember that we said as we were getting towards the end of the transition, it's really worrying that there's nothing in the transition, there's nothing, that no one's discussed services. So, people were saying, oh, well, you can visit the EU for up to 90 days in a 180-day period. Yes, that's true, but only visit. You can't work. You can't work on that. And the calculation for that period doesn't count if some of it's pre the 31st of December. So if, for example, you'd actually spent say you'd spent 60 days in the EU up until 31st of December, that's wiped clean. So you only start counting from 1st January, but you can't work. So the second thing is that individual countries in the EU have different rules about what you might be able to do in terms of work, but there's different day counts for that. So if you have workers in this sort of category that I was explaining, that, are providing services, or, you're just doing things which more than business meetings, you've got to really understand, do I fall within the true visit rules, in which you're in the 90 days and 180, or are you outside that? And then you've got to look at what the rules are in each country. And the final thing to say about posted workers is that too has changed, because if you were a British company, you could post workers in Europe because of freedom of movement of services. And now that's changed too. So if you're a British citizen and you're actually inside the EU and you're holding the correct permissions and you're working inside the EU, it might be that you could be posted to another EU country. but you cannot do a fresh posting from a British company in the UK. And I know that all sounds very complicated, and I'm sorry if it sounds complicated, but I suppose the bottom line takeaway is that you have to be really careful now to think of this. And the old things that you used to do, you have to sort of think again and find, new solutions.
Okay, Julie, that's really fascinating, and I know we're going to be coming back to both the US aspects and indeed Brexit and the EU aspects over the coming weeks. There's so much to talk about. I am going to have to move on now because we also need to talk about technology, and we're going to talk about technology and lump sum. I saw a comment here from Martin. He goes, hello from Michigan. After personally experiencing over 12 relocations, many lump sum and managing thousands more, I'm really interested to see if Brian can share some good news on lump sum. And don't you worry, Martin, we're going to be doing that right now. Nitsan, welcome to Benivo Bites, and we're going to be talking about the lump sum model today, aren't we?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here and start the new with new exciting updates.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a controversial statement, Nitsan, and then let's take it from there. Okay, the lump sum model is broken. Now, that's the statement I've heard you say to me. And I really want to get into that. I mean, maybe you can start off at some point by showing us a quick demo of some technology, and then we can maybe go into why you feel so strongly the lump sum model is broken, and what we can do to really make lump sum work efficiently, effectively, to make it work so that employees get, a really good experience about lump sum.
Sounds good. So everywhere we look, we see that lump sum is here to stay and lump sum is growing. So the lump sum is not what is broken. What is broken is the delivery model of lump sum. And I think it's a big statement, but I'm not sure controversially, because most corporate agree to that, and also most vendors and most relocation companies. No one is really happy with what's happening. And I think that one of the main reasons for that is because we need to realize that once we give money to someone and ask them to do as they wish with that money, we make them from assignees or under the corporate umbrella to consumers, which means now they become consumers who make consumers' decisions, and we need to give them the same tools that we will have as consumers in order to be successful.
It's a great point. So what you're saying effectively is that they're no longer spending the company's money, they're spending their own money. And we all know that we spend our own money differently to the way we spend other people's money.
Exactly. But we need, right? And that's why the delivery model was built around spending someone else's money. But now people are spending their own money, which is why we need to give them tools like they will spend their own money, right? So when we spend our own money, and let's share my screen. I'll give a 1-minute demo, and then we'll look at the technology more in depth after.
And actually, I should say, interesting comment here from. Let me just see if I can pull that out from Martin. He says, the lump sum is not broken. It's the decision-making process. No interest in duty of care. Couldn't agree more, Martin. That's exactly what we're going to be coming into talking about now. I mean, it's not lump sum, as Nitsan said, it's the delivery model, it's the decision-making process, and duty of care is one issue. We think there's other issues as well surrounding lump sum. But let's start off. Should we start off with a quick demo then?
Yeah, let's just see a few things, and then we'll jump into a bit more. Great. So in a way, right, what we want to deliver here for the employees is the ability to make the same decisions as they would do as consumers. We want to reduce anxiety. We want to give them those tools. So, and if you show my screen, what I'm showing now is a preview of the employee platform. This is what employees will see on the Benivo platform. And I'm just showing one area, which we call the directories, which is where I can find any vendor on the market, and I can see what are the reviews and what are the star rating experiences of my colleagues, of other employees like me who relocated. And I can go and I look whether it's around housing, or I can see and I can read the reviews and their experiences. I can see what worked for people, what didn't work. I can share my feedback, and we gamify that, so I get points for that and I unlock rewards. And I can even add my own vendor if I use someone else. And that goes into each and every area in the mobility, in the relocation experience, right? Including shipping, money delivery, lifestyle, even restaurants. So we will look at a few more later. That's one area I wanted to think. Other area that we see a lot of frustration with employees is the fact that there is a feeling that things are not connected, that I don't have one place where I can find everything related to my relocation, from immigration and tax to selecting vendors and company policies. And we've created that one place. We will see some of it today, some of it in some of the future shows. I just want to show one aspect for that, which is the key contacts. It's a simple concept. I can see here everyone I need to engage with in my relocation experience, kind of a digital business card. And let's say I want to engage with my, it can be the company contacts, vendors, all of them in one place. And if I want to engage with one of them, I can just send them a message here, or I can schedule a call back. And that's the concept of finding out when I'm available, not just when the consultant is available. I can see a live view of their calendar. I can choose the time slot that works for me, and it sends an invite automatically for both of us. And that's a small just taster. We will look at a lot more on the platform after we talk a little bit about the delivery model.
Okay, so we'll go back to the demo in a minute. Let's just take the demo off screen. We'll go back to that in a moment. But so the point, I said originally the lump sum model is broken, and you picked me up on that. And indeed, Martin and some of the other people in the audience picked me up on that too, and said it's not lump sum itself that is broken, it's the delivery model of lump sum. And I think a lot of people agree with that. And I know Martin picked up on the point, duty of care. But let's talk about some of the other reasons. So let's get into, if you like, the strategy, the theory behind this, why we've upgraded the technology. Why is the lump sum delivery model broken? And in the audience, if you want to sort of, comment, then please do add into the debate. As I said, the one thing we're not going to be getting into is this whole question of whether lump sum itself is definitely good or definitely bad, because that's a company choice and it's going to depend on situation. But it's the delivery model that we're focusing in on and how we can make it better. So Nitzan, it's a bold statement you've got out there. What's wrong with the lump sum delivery model? In what way is it broken?
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the foundations of what doesn't work. And the one that make it most clear is the fact that usage is low, right? So we can see that usage go between 10% to up to 20%. That's the highest someone gets in a lump sum program. And that means that 80% of the employees end up choosing something else. They are not spending their money with the services that are provided through the vendors.
So they're just putting the cash in their back pocket. And
they're putting the cash, and often they do need support, right? So they go to Google and they start to search there, and they start to look into what could be a solution, what someone else is doing, which offers I have on the market, and they will engage with their vendors, because the model as it stands today, normally there is a consultant and there is a check.
And that's where they often get ripped off, isn't it? I know we've talked about that on the View from the Top before, that they'll take the cash and then they'll find some cheap moving service or some cheap accommodation service and they get scammed in some way and the whole thing ends in tears?
Sometimes, but sometimes they also have great experiences. But then that knowledge is lost because the next person who is going to relocate cannot know that someone else had a very good experience with someone. So there is a lot of waste in that, right? So they end up spending more time, the employees' time. They ending up sometimes having poor experiences, sometimes having, but not a consistent delivery. And there is no usage of data in order to accelerate that experience. There's a lot of analogs,
So
right?
they're not learning from each other.
They're not learning from each other. And what they have is a consultant that is recommended to them on a small list of vetted vendors that were selected for the spend of someone else's money. But these prices don't work for when it spend my money. And what we end up doing is exactly as Martin said, we are failing to deliver on duty of care. And the reason we fail is that most people don't get support. And in reality, the option we give them is a very tough decision, right? They need to choose. Are you going to get a vendor who will support you, or you'll have nothing? And that's something that we think is very, very broken. And I'll show in a few minutes how we have changed this whole concept of what is support and how can company deliver on duty of care while still give the employees the freedom to make. And being someone who is relocating, there is just a lot to do. And there is tough decision, right? So how do I manage my budget? How do I know what I spend? And again, we don't give them visibility to see what someone else has spent their money on and was it a good decision or not. All this knowledge in the organization exists, but is being wasted. And the other thing that is also broken is the whole model of referral fees and kickbacks that add up to inflating the price and reducing the usage. The uptake of the services at the moment is very, very low. And that's why we decided to use data in order to completely transform this experience.
So if I can sort of sum up what I think you're saying in terms of, we've said the lump sum delivery model is broken. You said in terms of the way it's broken, you're saying, first of all, you get pretty poor levels of employee engagement, maybe 10 to 20% level engagement. You're getting, as we talked about earlier, a failure of duty of care. You're getting problems with how the employees can actually manage their own budget. And also, I think you referred to the fact that maybe they're also typically getting overpriced services because maybe the corporate rate is too, well, it might be inflated by kickbacks in certain cases. There might be other reasons why they're not getting the best price value that they could get. So those are some of the issues. But and you then said that part of the solution was a model that has got no kickbacks, everyone can be supported, and fast payments. And I think you're going to talk about how data can transform that experience.
Yes, and we'll look now into data in two areas, right? And one area is how data help employees make better decisions and reduce their anxiety, and how data help mobility managers better understand what their employees are doing, better manage their program, become more strategic, and be able, right, to make the right decisions in terms of are the allowances are actually enough? How do my employees use? Are there vendors that they use more often than not? And maybe we can, negotiate for them a better deal with those vendors. So a lot of information that was before never used, we've unlocked. Now, one important thing I want to clarify, right? Because there is a lot of discussion about whether vendors are vetted or not. The reality that in a lump sum program, the majority of employees spend the money on vendors they found themselves. 80% to 90% of them choose their own vendors, which is not the ideal scenario. While we won't convert all of them into a vetted model, that will never work. We should give them the tools to be successful in that selection process. So let's have a look again into the platform and let's look at a few things
before we get there, Nick, so I'm sorry, because this question is coming up quite a bit, and I just want to sort of just make sure that everybody understands exactly what we're saying here. I mean, let me just pick up some of these comments. How can I ensure that the way of the employee spending will not impact the quality and the image of the company? Some employees are less spending. This impacts their quality of life and eventually their productivity at work. And then from Fiona, so your solution will have multiple vetted providers for each service, and it's the employee who chooses to spend the assignment package as he wants. Why don't we take that one and just drill down on that, and then we'll go into the demo.
Yeah, as of today, the way that lump sum works today, employees look at that as money that belongs to them, and they decide how to spend on it. They don't look if they spend it. Between 80 to 90% of the money goes to where the employees think it should go, and not through the network of vetted vendors that provided by the company. So that's not even on the table, the question, right? The question is not where it goes. The question is, realizing that that's the reality, how do we optimize that? How do we go with the employees? And the model we've built is not a model about getting that from 10 to 15% or from 15% to 20% who spend on vetting. We want to support 100% of the employees, and that's the level of engagement that we receive, 100% support. And how we do that? By putting aside the whole concept of vendors. We'll get to that, don't worry, but starting with the employee. Starting with the employee who is relocating, what are the things that are on top of their minds, and how do we help them solve it and deliver a consistent support by the company?
Okay.
So let's have it. Yeah.
I think then, Nitzan, what we should do is go into that demo, because I know you're bursting to show people the demo, and I think it will help people understand exactly how this solution works. I'm sure people will love it. So, I mean, are you ready to dive into a demo at this point, Nitzan? Does that work for you?
Yes. So
okay.
looking forward. All right.
Let's bring your screen up then.
Great. And what we are seeing now is the platform for employees. Later, we will also look at another platform for the mobility team and HR. And we will also talk about the platform for the spouse. Maybe we'll get to the platform for the vendors, probably not on this show, but there are a few platforms. So we are now looking at that as an employee. I'm an employee of a company called Stark Industries, which we use here for demos. And I'm looking at the platform, and I see here 3 main routes that I can go through. There is the route of actions. Actions tells me everything that I need to do, whether it's related to a company or to the location I'm going to. When do I need to do it? And also, how do I do it? Which is the key difference than any other tech tool that is in the market. We are giving them the how they should do that, and also how do my colleagues do it. Then we have the destination section, which provide destination support through a product to all the areas of destinations, right? So housing, how to avoid scams and fraud, how to negotiate a contract, what does a contract look like, what my colleagues have negotiated, where to live, all that information, and then into settling in, culture training, things to do, shipping, even family life, selecting school, education, and there is an entire platform for the partner and the spouse. And the idea here is to break the formula that we had before, that the employees get money, and now they choose either they buy with that money vendor support, or they get nothing. That's very poor for duty of care. Instead, we give everyone baseline support through a product. And now the employees can make a decision. Okay, in some specific area, I want more handholding. I can get that through the vendor. And that's the same vendors that otherwise they'll get. We don't deliver any of those services. We're a technology company. We don't have people on the ground. We're not going to become one. But what we give here is that baseline support. We change the decision. Now everyone is supported by the company, and the employees can make the decision where they want to spend a bit more and get also more vendor support or hand-holding. But they will never be left by themselves, even if they make the wrong decision. And now,
rather than, just to clarify that for the audience, so rather than, if you like, a traditional lump sum where you've just got cash, you get on with it, and then you make mistakes, is that everybody, no matter how junior, if they're on the program, then yes, they get their cash, but they also get a base level of information regarding the actions and the destination they're going to. So they've actually got a base level of support. So they're learning from both technical staff, but they're also learning from the wisdom of the crowd. And I know we're going to come on to that.
Yeah, exactly. And now the third part is the money. And here we've developed and we have the most advanced money delivery system in the industry. Some of the biggest RMCs are using us to deliver funds when they need to get it faster or to more challenging locations because we have the most robust solution here. And that solution is fully automated, which means that the employee can apply to their lump sum, whether they need to provide receipts or not. I'll touch into that later, but they can apply to get their money, and the money will be with them instantly or up to 1 working day. So it's super fast, everything automated using an AI, artificial intelligence algorithm to analyze every application and decide whether to accept, approve it and authorize that, which means that we've also removed all the manual work associated for that. And that's why we can deliver this whole lump sum experience with full support for just the cost that is now delivering the money. So for the same cost of just delivering the money, you get the money delivery plus the full support and everything you will see today. So let's deep dive into some of the areas. Let's have a look at the actions and start with one thing in the actions here. I can see here everything I need to do by a timeline. I can go into specific areas, whether it's immigration related or whether it's related to my settling in. And let's say I'm going to get into opening a bank account. I get a digital brief, right? So never longer than a tweet. It's built for swiping right and left on my mobile or any other device. And I can learn what are the steps I need in order, in this stage to set up a bank account. What are the options I have? How do I handle the fact that I might not have history or credit ranking? I can look into setting up a temporary account with a TransferWise, and I can click and get there. I can see which digital banks are making it a bit easier to open an account, and I can see what my colleagues are doing, right? So which banks are popular with my colleagues? What have they selected? Was it a good decision or not? And I can learn more from their experience and make informed decision. And the same concept is on every other aspect of my relocation. There is a digital brief that gives me 5 minutes introduction into the concept and then help me to see what others have done before, how they've made decisions, and which vendors are available for me in order for me to make that decision. And if a company wants to only have recommended vendors or only the vendors of the RMCs, we've built that to support it, right? So that's not a problem. We actually work alongside RMCs that want that to be their lump sum experience and have their vendors here. But if they also want to have everything on the market, that's available here, because when the employees, right, and that's the key thing, when the employees get the money, they act like consumers. We need to treat them like consumers, give them the tools to be able to look into anything they will need, from shipping and which providers are available to them, to utilities and storage, and as I said, even lifestyles and attractions, things to do in the location I'm going to, restaurants that I can visit and really have that full experience here. And in the destination support, right, I can see information in housing about the location I'm going to, and I might still choose someone who will help me with the home search or not, but we will help them prepare. We will give them information about how much are people paying for accommodation and how much their colleagues are paying, not just random people in that location. What's the commute time to the office? What do people use for commute? Are they driving? Are they using public transportation? Which size of properties? And even which neighborhoods are popular? And they can go and explore it on a map and make informed decisions based on that information and see what they want to explore. Let's say
Every time I see this, I think it's so cool. It's so cool that you just get a map. You've got the office there, and it tells you the areas where your colleagues tend to live. I mean, this mapping of a location, and we can do that anywhere in the world, can't we?
Yes, any neighborhood in the world, and that's the delivery of a consistent experience. And now, if I want to deep dive into some of these digital briefs, I can learn about how to search like a local, and I can see how long it took my colleague to find a place. And I can see which websites did they use, and I see most of them use Zillow for housing, long-term houses. And I can see some feedback and tips that people are sharing, and I can share mine as well as look into whether people are going with furnished and unfurnished. And if I had enough, I can always finish and I see, all right, I still have 4 minutes, and I can log in whenever I'm available, not when someone else is available, and consume that information. An important area is around avoiding scams and fraud, and we have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge here that we give into interactive tools that gives the employees the ability to look into a property and to decide if that's likely to be a real or a scam. And I can just answer a few questions and see what is the recommendation based on that. And the same applying to shipping, right? So if I'm looking into shipping, I can see how much do people pay, how to avoid shipping scams. If I want to donate my belonging to a charity, how we can go about that. We give them all the tools to be able to do that themselves. And whenever they want to go with a vendor for additional help, they can choose to do so. Let's look a little bit about money delivery.
Before we do, Netsan, let me just pick up a couple of comments that have been coming in. So, I'll just put some up. Here's from Fiona. What fits one does not fit the other. So this model is really going to be a huge benefit for the employee, which is a great comment, Fiona, from Bindu in India. In a country like India, where real estate is an unorganized sector and the assignees are free to choose their own vendors, the housing aspect of relocation is a near disaster. That's a great point, Bindu. Just to let you know that on the next edition of Benivo Bites, which is in 2 weeks' time, we're actually going to be covering specifically India domestic moves, and we've got technology for that, and we're going to be releasing a white paper on that at some point in the next couple of weeks. So Bindu, watch this space. We're definitely coming in. And another comment here. So I've just lost it. Another comment here that I'll just ask you. From Anne Smith, Nitsan, how up to date is the location data?
Yeah, so we have a few layers of data. Some of them coming from external sources, which we update regularly at the longest it's going to be once a year, but often much more frequent. But the data that come from colleagues, it's updated daily, instantly, right? As employees are sharing their insights, and I'll show how employees can share their insight, that automatically update the data, which means that this platform is a live platform. It's fully dynamic, right? So all the time, people can see the most up-to-date information. So when we maybe I'll show how that works before I go into talk about money delivery. So here I can see how we gamified the mobility experience. I can go into this section of the insights, and I can share my experience and collect points or that will allows me to choose a charity that I would like to support later. So let's say I want to answer.
I would say to the audience, if you haven't seen this before, do watch this. This is so cool. For the first time, it's an amazing concept. We've gamified global mobility.
And let's say I want to answer right information. So how do I typically go to work? I can answer that, and I can see what my colleagues have answered as well. How long it takes me? I'm going to say it takes me 30 minutes, and I can see what my colleagues' responses. And every time I answer here a question, right? Who am I banking with? Every time I answer here a question, this goes into the insights that are being shared with other employees, right? So the whole idea is create that feeling of community, the feeling that I belong as well, to that environment and being able to help each other as well as get those insights from other people. And at the same time, I get those points and rewards, and I can choose charities that I would like to support as well as gifts to redeem. So there's a whole system around encouraging people who want to share and rewarding them for sharing. On the money delivery, we have access to Pay Later, which is an interest-free cash advance that employees can receive from Benivo, and then they repay it back for Benivo. So that's not the lump sum, that's an additional amount that they can use interest-free in order to cover upfront rent and deposit. Or I can go here and apply for my relocation allowance. Whether you require expense management or not, we can set it up like that, and that's included here. So if you need expense management, I can just go here and let's say I want to get submit receipts and get reimbursed. I can just go here and choose how many receipts I have to submit. I'll choose one, and I can go here, provide the currency, the information, upload the photo, and my amount will be paid to me between instantly to same day or 1 working day. And all of that is automated through artificial intelligence and an AI algorithm. So a really advanced solution for delivering money that is fast and global anywhere in the world, as well as affordable, which means that more of the value goes into the employee support. I want to, we looked a little bit about the employee platform. Obviously, there is a lot more here, but I want to give a taster of the platform for the mobility manager. And we will spend a proper session on that in a month, but today I want to look on those dashboards that are related to the lump sum experience. And let's look at 2 of them. The first one will be about the employees' progress in the relocation. One of the unknowns we have is, how are my employees performing? Where are they in the process? And here, because we have those dynamic actions that employees complete, we can actually see where they are in the process of managing their relocation, and we can visualize that. So it's possible to drill down to the individual level and see on my key priority actions that I want them to complete, what is the status? Have they completed it or not? Is it still in progress, or they haven't started? And if I want now to engage with an employee, I don't need anymore to call them and say, oh, hi, how's it going? I can just tell them, hey, I've noticed that you still haven't registered for your social security number. Can I help you progress with that? So it's much more informed decision and much more proactive in terms of how we engage with them.
So if I can come in on that, I mean, this is a bit like, these days when you order a pizza, the chances are that you will have an app and you'll be able to see whether it's being prepared and where the rider is and they're coming and they're about to knock on your door, all that sort of stuff. Why haven't we got that in mobility so that actually you can see where the process is, whether it's about getting their work permit or their move sorted or getting their, their tax briefing done or whatever they've got to do. What we're doing here is we're taking, I'm trying to think of a good phrase, we're taking the Uber Eats concept and putting that into mobility, so you can actually track your assignee or your transferee, and you can track where they are in the process on each aspect. And the data that gives you as a manager is immense. You can find out, because if you can find out the ones that are taking a long time, you're probably quite likely to find out the ones that are going to fail.
Exactly, and we will spend a separate session to see how valuable that data is. Another dashboard that I want to use the couple of minutes we have to deep dive into is this dashboard that is about how my employees are using their expenses. Now, because today the entire process of reimbursement is an analog process, it means that this data is actually not available to the company. And even when the data exists, it sits with the vendor. It doesn't sit with the company. And here we give the company access to own their own data and be able to use that to better understand their program, to be much more strategic and much more proactive about managing it. So what do we have here, right? I can see here the total amount and how many employees are there and what is the average per employee. and I can go and drill down into specific employees and see how they've managed their lump sums. Right, so I can look here, and this is, of course, I can see what this employee, and I can see they spent $3,000, $3,700, about the majority through reimbursement on receipt, the rest through virtual cards. So to ensure employees are never out of pocket, we can also deliver the money to them through a virtual card that they can go and use that way. I can see that that employee spent the majority of their money on destination services and the rest on language training. And I can see the same, not just on an employee level, but on a population or policy level, in home country or host country, really to drill down here in any way that I would like, whether a receipt was provided or not, and understand for the first time, how are my employees using their budget? I can see most of the money goes into their shipping, the household, then to the destination support, the travel to the office, the travel to the location, how they use it, what percentage of the amount goes into using virtual card rather than reimbursement out of pocket. That allows me to keep optimize my program. And later, I can go and drill down and I can see how our employees, on average, how much money do they use? Are they using all of their allowance or not? I can see here that Easy is used only 29%, but Sarah is at 90%, and can see kind of here where is my average. And again, be able to drill down this by any location that I want, right? So what I see here are kind of the totals, right? So obviously 73,000 is the total spent by 10 employees, but I can even drill down that for an individual and be able to see how much they used out of their budget. And looking at more things that we can see here, I can even get into the level of seeing which specific merchants or suppliers employees have used. And that's, let's say I'm looking at a shipment, and I can see which vendors they end up using. I can see how many, US domestic is a massive population we serve, so I can see how many of them are going to U-Haul or Pesky, and how many of them are going with a van line. That will allows me again to go and try and get better deals from them, for my employees, from these vendors, because for the first time I can see how much actually they are spending even with a specific merchant, whether it's on home finding or any category that I want out of how they use the money. In addition, we also have predictive analytics built in here. So I can see the expenses by month, as well as a forecast of what those expenses will be in the future months, that are created automatically and can be adjusted, obviously, by the volumes that I have, as well as other factors that impact that. So a lot of tools of data that allows mobility team to be much more proactive in their role rather than reactive, as well as get control on the data that really belongs to them. And that's a topic that we will talk about for this entire year, right? We think that the use of data can transform the mobility experience for employees, as they can learn from their colleagues, but also for HR and mobility and the business as they get insights that they've never had before.
Okay, I mean, I'll just stop sharing the screen at the moment, just bring you back up. I mean, that is just awesome. I mean, especially the predictive analytics. I know in some of the episodes of The View from the Top, the point was made by some of the guests on it. They said mobility wants to be strategic. We always want that seat at the table. The only way we can get the seat at that table is to have data, because data actually gives us the power to knock on the door of the CHRO, the CEO, the CFO, and to actually say, look, we can predict something here that is significant based on the data we've got. But if we don't have data, then we don't have the weapons that we need to make mobility a lot more strategic. I mean, it is very, very cool technology. There's some comments coming in. I'll just maybe we'll finish up by picking up on some of these comments. So here from Nicola. This is pretty amazing. Is there a corresponding app that the assignee can use on their phone?
Yes, 100% yes. This is called mobile first development. So yeah, they can start with an app, they can use it on a tablet, on any screen. It's a native app they can download, or they can use it from their browser in any device that connects to the internet.
Okay, and actually sticking with Nicola, he said, this kind of solution will surely minimize the number of escalations tied to service delivery. Transparency and automation is what I see here.
Couldn't agree more. I think, wherever we want to solve a problem, then giving to that visibility and transparency so everything can see what is the issue is 90% for solving that issue. So I think that's what we're trying here to do with data. Raise escalations, avoid escalations, raise the issues before they become escalations, just by monitoring information and comparing it to benchmarks.
And here is a comment from Merrilee. She says, suggests that successful delivery of lump sums is a combination of great technology tools like Benivo, but also the important consultative briefing by the GM humans to come alongside the assignees for the educational piece, tech and humans together. Yeah. I think it's a great point, Merrilee. I mean, obviously we provide the technology side, but we work hand in glove either with RMCs or with HR and global mobility professionals, or indeed both. But also, I mean, obviously the other people we give a voice to here it's the crowd, the people who've gone before in your organization, who know what's happened, so that people can learn from each other. A lovely comment here just from Peter Marino. Cool, that's cool with a capital K. We appreciate that. What have we got here from Bindu? A lot of thought has gone into this for sure. Great work. Wish you and your team the best, Nitzan Yuan. And then one more comment here. This is groundbreaking. Thank you for sharing that. And I think actually at this point, I'm just going to bring Julia back, because I know Julia wanted to make a comment too, I think regarding how it applies from a migration perspective.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think it was amazing to see this, but I think it's, yeah, I really loved the comments as well, reading the comments through, because I think it's a sort of a little bit of a partnership as well, isn't it, with the technology, and then giving some guidance to employees to make sure that their health and safety is put first, so people aren't tempted to say just choose the cheapest accommodation, even if everybody liked that, but I could see how you could still use the technology and still put sort of some parameters and guidance around it. No, I think it's really interesting, really, really cool, and giving people the choice. And as you say, how they spend their own money, it's a different psyche, isn't it, to spending other people's money?
Absolutely. Okay, so it's been great. I mean, thank you to everybody in LinkedIn world for being in the audience today. We've enjoyed your comments, and the challenge that we always set ourselves as a company is to be the fastest moving company out there. And if there's a technology challenge, we love a good technology challenge, and we're certainly developing new stuff. We will be back next Wednesday with the view from the top. Julia will be back. Pat Jurgens on tax will be back. I will be back. And of course, our special guest on the view from the top, talking of technology, is Ray Kirby from Twitter. So we're going to be talking about the program at Twitter and Ray's thoughts on the strategy for the mobility industry and his predictions going forward. And then the following week after that, which in a way follows up from this session, we're going back onto technology, and very, very specifically, we're going to be talking about a really big growing area, which is India domestic relocations and how we can use technology to support that. I know for one, Bindu, I'm sure will be there.
Yes.
You're saying that's really key area for her. So anyway,
we love to hear comments.
Absolutely. So thank you, Julia, for being on the show. Thank you, Nitzan, for being on the show, and thank you, of course, to our audience. Thank you, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.